morning, Kitsap Christian Fellowship. How's everybody doing? Good? I hope you guys are excited. You know, I'm sorry about my voice. I'm a little sick, and I've been sick for the whole week, and it was tough. But anyway, you know, a lot of people, you know, they get excited about Christmas because of this. Huh? Who doesn't? Everybody does, right? You know, we're all excited, you know, about what's going to be in there, right? Man, it's December. December, and you know, a song says that this is the most wonderful time of the year, you know, and it is indeed. But how many of you guys are excited now? Come on, raise your hand. How many of you guys are excited? There you go, man. You know, in our family, you know, with the Ibera and Jacob family, we have a little yearly tradition, and we kind of overgrown this already, but we still do it. At Christmas Eve, the whole family will gather, you know, in one place and open the gifts, you know, like this. We'll open the gifts, and everybody's so excited, you know, and especially me. I don't get as much present anymore, but that's okay, you know. John, can you turn it down a little bit? Number 2. Okay. All right. So anyway, we're always so excited once we see this under the tree, you know? It's just like we're so wondering, like, what's in there? What's inside the box? I mean, look at the box, man. It's all wrapped. There's a ribbon in it, you know? It's just so appealing. It's like you just want to open it. You know, my daughter the other day got in trouble with her mom because she started opening some of the presents, you know, underneath the tree. You know, she was excited too, you know, and but in our little tradition, you know, it's so exciting because I get to see what I get for that Christmas, you know. Not just that, but I get to see what others get, you know, for that Christmas. And what inside the box. But here's the thing: what if we never opened the box? Just think about it. What if we never opened the box and we never get to find out what's inside? Okay, here's my question. Would you be able to enjoy what's inside? No. Would you be able to appreciate it? Never. Because you'll never find out what's inside. All right? So, you guys want to find out what's inside this box? All right. Well, how many of you guys received a gift just like this? You know, and when you guys open it, you thought it was the lamest gift ever. It was the worst gift ever. How many of you guys had some of those in the past? I'm sure. See, look at that. Sure, there was. You know, some of you guys have them. You know. So, what about you? Guys want to open this now, or what? So, I found out in the internet what are the worst gifts ever. Okay, and there's like 10. That site I went to, there were 10. They listed 10. I'm just gonna pick 3 of them. Okay, guess what's number 1? Socks. Right? Socks. The second one. Actually, that's number 3, underpants. The second, what's second? Chapsticks. I mean, who give chapstick as presents? I don't know, but apparently somebody did. So it hit the internet, and it's the second on the list. So my fear is that not just on Christmas Day, but in our Christian life, my fear is that we will always celebrate Christmas and never get to find out what was the reason why we're celebrating Christmas. We will never get to open that present that happened on that day. Do you guys follow me? Okay, so you guys want to open this now? Okay, I'm going to open it. So here's what's inside. Jesus. Good job. So I titled this series, and for the whole entire December, we're going to talk about Jesus Unwrapped. We're going to unwrap who Jesus is, because I believe that it's important because we will never appreciate it. We will never enjoy who Jesus is if we'll never find out who he is. Do you guys follow me? If we'll never get to find out what's inside this box, we will never enjoy what's in there. Okay? Without knowing Jesus, we will never fully understand who he is. We will never experience Jesus to the fullest extent. You guys believe that? Okay, so that's what we're going to do for the entire month of December. Okay? So today's message, I titled this, The Gift of Christmas, God's Sovereign Plan. God's sovereign plan. So sovereignty means that God, as the ruler of the universe, is free and has the right to do whatever he wants. He's God, you know? So he is not bound or limited by the dictates of his created beings. That's us. Have you guys ever get to that point where you're trying to, you know, like you get to a certain point of your life, you're in trouble, and all of a sudden you start suggesting things to God, like, Lord, this is what you need to do in my life, okay? No, God is sovereign, okay? We are the creation. He is the creator, okay? So further, he is in complete control over everything that happens here on earth. God's will is final cause of all things. So sovereignty is often expressed in the language of kingship. God rules and reigns over the entire universe. Okay? He cannot be opposed. He is the Lord of heaven and earth. He is enthroned, and his throne is a symbol of his sovereignty. Okay? God's will is supreme. So today, I want you guys to join me as we take a journey in getting to know who Jesus is. Because like I said, we will always celebrate Christmas every year and never get to experience the full reason of it, the full importance of why we celebrate Christmas without knowing Jesus. You know, a lot of people now, they try to eliminate Christ during Christmas. Well, it's within the word Christmas. So what do? They change this to happy what? Happy holidays. Or Xmas. So, but the key to knowing, if we desire to know Jesus, the key is to go back to the beginning. You guys agree? So let's go back to the beginning, and I think the best way that will describe us who Jesus is from the very beginning is found in the book of John chapter 1. If you're there, that's good. If you're not, we'll see it over here in our projector. So the book of John, the first chapter, it starts like this. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. So in the beginning means if you can, which you can't, okay, don't try, but if you can go back in the beginning and just keep going without stopping. That's what it means. The word beginning here that was used, that's what it means. Go back to the beginning of time and just keep going without stopping. Okay? So, and the verse says that in the beginning, that kind of beginning was the Word. Okay, now, in the Greek word that was used here for the word is logos. Okay, that was the Greek word. So, during the time of Jesus, Greeks believed that every time they look up in the sky, there must be something that controls it or put everything into place. There must be a logic, logos. There must be somebody who put everything into place. And that's, you know, because everything seems to be perfect when they looked at everything, you know. So there must be a logic, you know. To the Jews, okay, now to the Jews, the word logos is a representation of the will of God. That's why when you read your Old Testament, you will often see or read, and the word of the Lord was revealed to me, or the word of the Lord came to Abraham. You will always read that in the Old Testament because they believe that the word, okay, is the representation of the will of God. Okay, so now, John, the author of this The author of this book, his audience are both Greeks and Jews. That's why he used the word logos. Okay? So let's read it again. So, in the beginning, let's read this again. In the beginning was the Word. Okay, logos. Okay? And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Now, who is the Word? Because we can read it. It said, He was with God in the beginning. It must be a person because it was a He. So the Word is a person, and we know it's a He. Okay? So the key is to go a little bit farther. If you go to chapter 1, verse 14. Okay, verse 14 says like this: the Word became flesh. Okay, and made His dwelling among us. We have seen His glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. So who is this Word? Jesus. Jesus is the Word. So if we go back to the Greeks, to the Greeks, the word logos means that the logos is the one who is the logic, who puts everything into place. And to the Jews, he's the representation of the will of God. And now we know that John had revealed that to us, that's Jesus. Okay? So now, let's read it again, and let's put Jesus into perspective. Okay? All right? You ready? In the beginning was Jesus. And Jesus was with God. And Jesus was God. He was with God in the beginning. And through Him, Jesus, all things were made. Without Him, without Jesus, nothing was made that has been made. That is the Jesus that we're celebrating during Christmas. The one inside this little box right here. See, if we never get to know who this Jesus is, we will never appreciate Him. We will never experience the joy of knowing His name. Okay? So, who is Jesus? Based on the book of John, chapter 1, He pre-existed in eternity. That's pretty clear. Okay? He pre-existed in the eternity. And John says, hey, go back to the beginning. He existed. Okay? He was with God the Father. Okay? He was God Himself. And He was the creator of the universe. That's the Jesus that we worship every Sunday. So, you think Jesus started on Christmas Day? You better read your Bible. I'm telling you, there's a lot in there that will tell you who this God is. And He is not a teeny tiny God. We think that the Jesus that we worship was able to fit in that little manger that's about this size. He is way bigger than that. Now, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this not to throw a jab on other belief system out there, but here's the thing. The more I study other religion, okay, the more I realize that really it's so important, okay, to minister to other people out there about who Jesus is, who this Jesus that we worship. Okay? So I'm starting to love these guys though. You know who they are. They knock on your doors. Okay? So to the Jehovah's Witnesses, this was hard for them to grasp. It's like, how can a God become flesh? How can a God be born in earth? So they decided Jesus might be Michael the Archangel. Okay? Now the same thing with the Mormons. They concluded, the same thing. They're having a hard time. Probably Joseph Smith was having a hard time figuring this out, but he decided that Jesus must be a created being. And that's what he did. The beginning of this belief system, he thought every followers they had that Jesus had a beginning. And on Christmas, that Jesus that was born on Christmas Day, that Jesus is a product of God the Father having an intimate relationship with Mary. Because they can't figure out, how can Jesus be fully God and fully man? He can't be fully full of humanity and full of divinity at the same time. That's the only explanation. See, without knowing, without understanding who Jesus is, it's easy to get swayed and start believing those because our little brain cannot comprehend it. Okay? But the Jesus of the Bible, that's why I urge you to read your Bible. Even bring it on Sunday so that you can check that whatever I'm telling you guys here is accurate in the Bible. Okay? But the Jesus in the Bible is not even close to any of those Jesus. And that makes me sad. I hope that with Christmas coming that we will all have a better understanding of who truly is Jesus. And I hope that we will always go back to the book of John, chapter 1, so that it will give us a reminder that this Jesus that we're worshiping is not a teeny tiny God. He created the universe. He existed from the very beginning. Okay? He was God. He is God. So, now, the birth of Jesus was predicted by the prophet Isaiah. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of prophecy in the Old Testament about Jesus' birth. Not just this, but we're going to look at one, okay? It's found in the book of Isaiah, chapter 7. You don't have to go over there. This is just one verse. So in the book of Isaiah, chapter 7, verse 14, it says this, "Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and will call him Emmanuel." Now, the word, here's the thing. There's a lot of controversy about this, but so the word virgin that was used here in Hebrew is called Alma. That's the word that was used in the Hebrew Bible, Alma, okay? Which means it's used for unmarried women, okay? Old enough to be married. That's what it meant, okay? It has nothing to do with one's sexual state of sexuality, okay? So remember that when this happened, Mary was engaged to Joseph to be married. So in the Jewish culture, there's one thing, their engagement lasts for a whole year. A lot of us now, we can't even wait for a year. Get married after 2 months. But anyway, in the Jewish culture, you have to wait for a year before you have the wedding, okay? So they call that the betrothal stage, okay? So Mary conceived during the betrothal stage, okay? She was unmarried at that time. She was only engaged to Joseph, okay? So the Catholicism idea of the perpetual virginity of Mary is unbiblical, okay? You want to know why? Because after Jesus was born, Mary had 4 brothers and had sisters also that were unnamed and unnumbered in the Bible, but it says in there, okay? So, here's the thing. Why Mary? Why Mary? Okay? Mary was as sinful as everybody else who needed Jesus to be their Savior. And the answer is God's sovereign plan. He had a plan. He wanted to use Mary. So, now, Mary was pregnant, and the book of Luke will tell us that Caesar Augustus, we just read this earlier, Caesar Augustus had issued a decree, it's a decree, that a census be taken in the entire Roman world, okay? And everyone must go to their own town. They need to go back to their own town to register, okay? So now, what we read before in the book of Luke chapter 2, let's start with verse 4. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David, okay? He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. Now, what's the emphasis in these verses? What's the emphasis? That Joseph was in the line of who? Of David. Joseph was in the line of David. Now, why is that important? Okay, why is that important? Let's go to Psalms 89, verse 3 and 4. He said, "You said, I have made a covenant." Okay, I have made, he's quoting from what God said. Okay, "I have made a covenant with my chosen one. I have sworn to David, my servant, I will establish your line forever and make your throne firm through all generations. That was the promise to David. See, the Old Testament has a lot of prophecies. And, that tells us that the Messiah must come from the line of David. And this is just one of them. Okay, there's more in there. So, meaning that the promised Messiah, which is Jesus, okay, will be Jewish. And he will be born under the king line, the kingly line of David. That was the promise from the Old Testament, okay? Now, there was a problem. There was a problem with that, okay? After David, it was Solomon, right? But under Solomon, there was a problem. One of Solomon's descendants had a curse. And God promised that his name, by the way, is Jeconiah, okay? There was a problem with Jeconiah. He said, any of his descendants will never have the right to sit on the throne of David. There was a curse. So what's the problem? Joseph is a descendant of Solomon. So he's in line of Solomon. And in between Solomon and David, it was Jeconiah, and the curse was in there. So that's a problem, because that means that any descendant of Jeconiah, which Joseph is part of it, will never have the right to the throne of David. Okay, so now, how do we reconcile this? Okay, so we need to look at the genealogy in the book of Luke. Okay, so the book of Luke, if you look at the genealogy here, Joanne, there you go. So I don't know if you can read it, okay, but the bottom part here is the genealogy of Matthew. If you can see, I highlighted Solomon. I highlighted Solomon, and Jeconiah is in between Solomon and Joseph, somewhere in there. That's where the curse is. So the book of Luke started. So David has a lot of sons. They had a lot of sons. But let's talk about Solomon. So Solomon, he can't be from the line of Solomon. Okay? So the book of Luke showed us from the line of Nathan. So Nathan is another son of David. Okay? So from Nathan, the curse, it won't be in the line of Nathan, right? So, in the genealogy in the book of Luke, tracing from after David, tracing from Nathan, going down, okay? You'll find out that Mary is a descendant of David. Mary is, okay? So through Nathan, okay? So, all right. So, the birth of Jesus was God's sovereign plan. Even if humanity will fail, it will happen. If He promised it, it will happen. You guys believe that? That's how sovereign this God is that we worship. Okay. Now let's go back to Bethlehem. Okay. Why Bethlehem? Okay. So let's go back to let's look at Micah chapter 5. He said, "But you, brethren, Ephrathah, though you are small but you, Bethlehem, Ephrathah, though you are small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come for me one who will be ruler over Israel, whose origins are from of old," meaning from the beginning, okay, from an ancient times. Okay? Again, the prophecy was that the coming of the King of Kings will be from the ancient times. In other words, from the very beginning. Okay? So, and he will be born in the town of Bethlehem. Okay? Now, if the census, we just read, okay? So if the census happened early or even late, where would Jesus be born? No. If the census, because remember, when Caesar Augustus issued the decree that everybody needs to go back to their town for the census, right? It was just the right time for Mary to give birth to Jesus in Bethlehem. Now, if the decree came before, if the decree happened early or even late, Where would Jesus be born? In Nazareth. But that's not what the Bible says. The Bible says that the king, the Messiah, will be born in Bethlehem. So why Bethlehem? Why not Bremerton or Silverdale or Port Orchard? Why Bethlehem? Because everything was in the control of the hands who is so sovereign. He is a sovereign God, and He controls everything. You know, and even the birth of Jesus, you know, God used the decree of Caesar Augustus for that prophecy to happen. I'm telling you, our God is sovereign. Okay? He is sovereign over your lives. Believe me. Some of the single guys here, somebody is waiting out there. And God has written that already. You guys will find her. You just have to look for it. Jay, I'm not pointing out to you, but you're in front. So now, again, the birth of Jesus is what? Come on. God's sovereign plan. He's been planning that a long time ago. Now, how long time ago? Here's the thing. I'm going to take you guys back to the book of Genesis. Okay? So we're going to go to the book of Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. Okay? And here's what the verse says. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel. Okay? So what's the context of this? So here's what's going on here. I'm going to give you guys a background. God is talking to the serpent, which is Satan. Okay? He was talking to the serpent after Adam and Eve disobeyed God and committed the first sin ever. Okay? So God was talking to the serpent. He's giving the serpent instructions. Okay? So I came from a belief system where we have an image of Mary, and that image of Mary is stepping on a snake, on a serpent with an apple on is mouth. By the way, that is so misleading. You want to know why? It was never mentioned that it was an apple. It was just saying it's just a fruit of the tree. So who came up with an apple? Okay? Nobody. Anyway, so that image was so misleading because over here, God said, I will put enmity. Okay, so the Hebrew word that was used here for enmity is aba, okay, which means opposition. Okay, so God is talking to the serpent, which is Satan. He said, I will put an opposition between you and the woman. Who's the woman? Not Mary. It was Eve. Because Eve disobeyed God. Okay? So he said, I will put an opposition between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. So now, the promise opposition is again a he. Okay? He said, he will crush your head and you will strike his heel. So God is telling the serpent, you can strike his heel all you want, but that is not deadly. Now here's the thing. He will crush your head. Now this is a foreshadow of what happened on that tomb on that third day. When Jesus resurrected from the dead, that's when he crushed Satan's head. All right? So you still think that Jesus' plan started during Christmas? No. The moment humanity failed God, the moment humanity disobeyed God, what was God's plan? To send his son from the very beginning. So God did not say, oh, well, the book of the laws and the 10 commandments did not work, so you know what? What's my next option? Jesus. No, God did not say that. From the very beginning, the moment we disobeyed God, okay, what was his solution? Jesus. So Jesus did not start on Christmas Day. And God is sovereign in his plan. And when he plans it, when he's promised it, it will happen. Okay?